Hello and welcome to the first ever Wise Art video. Today I'm going to talk about the psychology behind mastery. The reason why this is important is because knowing this will keep us on the right path as we endeavor on our Wise Art journey to learn new knowledge, skills, and connections between various subjects which are typically kept separate. I'm finishing up two illustrations. I'm illustrating an archer who just released the string of his bow, his arrow now traveling to the target. Throughout my life, I've done archery, and one thing I've learned from practicing archery is that you need to be in the right state of mind when trying to learn and perform artfully. As you draw the bow, the pole of the bow is pulling against your pole while staring at the target, hoping for a bullseye. To shoot well, however, the archer needs to focus on their breath and form. As they breathe out, they pull the string and visualize the arrow flying to the target. As soon as this thought passes, the archer should release the arrow and breathe out. This should happen suddenly in a very meditative manner. Everything happens in seconds, and the arrow is buried into the target, and the archer hears that familiar sound. However, even though it happened so fast, every moment was experienced by the archer fully. Even the flying of the arrow, even so sudden as it hits desired end destination. This is also a good way to approach learning new skills. Instead of thinking about whether or not you're doing well, it's better to focus on the process. The more you try to measure how your progress is doing, you are no longer focused on the process. If you leave the process, you've interrupted your attention and the flow state. So this is why this approach has been something that's impacted many of the things I do, and it's something that I've learned from my father growing up as he taught me how to shoot bows, and it's sort of a meditative practice, visualizing what you're doing in the process of doing it, and not letting those thoughts enter your mind that are going to disrupt the little tiny movements, because any tiny movement in archery that's incorrect could change the flight of the arrow and really determine your success. So it's really trying to get you to focus on the process. And when you focus on the process, then you're able to enter a flow state and be able to do something well and be able to learn. And that's really important for you as you journey towards your goals to master new skills and attain new knowledge. And we also want to make sure that along this process we enjoy that experience, and the more you enjoy it learning, the more you're going to learn, and the better you're going to be. I mean, it's proven that enjoying what you do, this state of mind is going to help improve your focus on the exact thing you're doing versus your attention to the entire world. And I think that's very important. So enjoying that process is going to be really important, because as soon as you get frustrated and you think about, hey, I'm not doing as well as I think I should be doing, it's going to get in the way of learning. And also, just the same, if you think you're doing very well and you're going to keep doing amazing, this can also create overconfidence that leads to hubris and ends up also getting in the way of learning, because to learn you have to have some level of being humble. So even people who, for instance, I do jiu-jitsu as well, and even the people who have achieved black belt, they have to, they're never at the end. There can always be better. And so and it's always a learning experience, and that's why we train. And I think it's a great way of approaching learning. See, I'm finishing up these final details here, and I put in a lot of little highlights in the face. What's really important in this picture, just like in our task, we don't want to get distracted by the colors and all the emotions. Oftentimes, the hues when you're painting you can distract you from the contrast, and you want to be able to see the contrast. You need values to be dark and values to be light, and that's what creates a very an image that you could say this is a well done image. It needs contrast. So even if you have a painting, sometimes the colors, the hues, it can be distracting, and I think sometimes people focus too much on that, and you have to really make sure at the end you get the contrast in. And so that's why also later I'm going to check before finishing whether I'm happy with the contrast by using a black and white filter, and that'll tell me exactly how the image looks without looking at the hues, just the contrast and the values. And that's something I think you should be done throughout any digital illustration or painting. If it's black and white already, obviously it doesn't need to be done. But I think it really helps me to make sure that I know I'm actually creating an image that has the necessary depth of reality. And you're when you're drawing, you're creating illusions. It's an illusion that there is a guy actually holding an arrow, and you're viewing it from a specific perspective where he's shooting and at the end of the day, it's we're creating this on a 2D plane. So you need contrast to create depth. So here I'm just adding some highlights to the bow, and those are sort of the final touches on the archer and the bow, and then I'll be moving on to final touches of the background. So yeah, just putting in a little bit of background here, and some texture, showing a little bit of the close-up, which is also from the other image I already did before this one. And you can see there the arrow is wobbling. Arrows actually wobble when they travel before they straighten out and hit the target. This I think this wobbling is also a metaphor. It's like, don't pay attention to the ups and downs. You gotta stick with the journey and just fly to the target. Now I'm gonna check the contrast with the black and white filter. I think it's good. So yeah, so that's all for today, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you join me on the journey. Hey, so if you like the video, please check out my portfolio. Also check out all my links. I'm gonna put a link to my link website in the bio, and also the links to my blog posts. If you haven't gotten to this video from the blog post, if you just found it on YouTube, I have blogs. You can go read those, and there's more coming soon. So I hope you guys subscribe and join for the journey, and we'll see what we learn together. So thank you.